the last thing I wanted to say about internal beef or whatever is that a lot of people are trying to push this narrative that T-Rell was snitching because he talked the Rolling Stone thing, right? He was the only host who had anything to say at all, who talked to the guy who was writing the article. Now, I actually knew exactly what T-Rell had said to him beforehand, or not exactly, but I knew what he had said that actually was like interesting enough that they were going to print it, you know, because they fucking sent me a bunch of quotes from different people, seeing if I wanted to respond to anything or whatever. And the only thing that they sent me was just T-Rell saying that some of the employees were uncomfortable, the black employees were uncomfortable with the fact that we did the debate with this ex-white supremacist guy, Richard Spencer. This was, I don't know if this really hit your radar.
I did hear about, no, it hit my radar on Clubhouse when I was on with Gina. And they said that, because I'm like, well, y'all should have spoke up when y'all knew the dude was coming. Y'all should have spoke up and said y'all wasn't comfortable with what was going on.
To be fair, though, like he came and did that debate, and everybody in the office was like hanging out around, like not like trying to hang out around him, but like they were around Richard Spencer, and I don't think anybody knew who he was or had any clue that he had this like racist past or whatever.
All right, but were there a couple that did know?
Like maybe Laura, but like even Laura, maybe not. Like I don't think, because like most of the people who work here are more concerned with music and fashion and culture, and not so much like the political shit.
I said if you guys knew all of this, you should have said something beforehand. They said that people did say that before he even came.
No, nobody said anything.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm like. It's two sides to every story, but either way, that's where I was like, oh yeah, for real. I'm like, y'all told him, because I'm like, if a Nazi's coming somewhere where it's a lot of black people and you get the heads up and you got the option to be like, hey, I don't know, you know what I mean? And maybe you can go off of the majority rules on that.
But to be fair,
who did he debate with? A black person, right?
No, this dude Destiny. But Destiny is like a super liberal, like super anti-racist or whatever. But like the whole interesting thing about the conversation is that Richard Spencer is kind of like, he used to be this big Trump guy. He used to be all racist and shit, and now he's saying that he don't fuck with that shit anymore or whatever. That's why it feels kind of disingenuous when people are like, oh, you had this racist in there saying all these racist things around black people. Go watch that interview. Find me something racist he said in that interview. Now, his past, for sure.
Yeah, that's
but
what
in
I'm
the
saying.
interview, he was not pushing that type of shit at all.
So if he didn't push nothing in the that's what I'm like, what's the whole thing? It was a debate with somebody that was a liberal. So it was basically two people going at it about what was wrong with his past, right? Like what they disagree about.
Well, but okay, so the basic thing that kind of like went left is that it's a lot.
That's
it's
the problem. A lot of people didn't watch it.
No, nobody watched it. But to be fair, Van Lathan is the one who I think like talked to AD and kind of told AD like, this is fucked up. You guys shouldn't be platforming him, whatever. I can take Van Lathan's opinion pretty serious there, because I think he did make a good point, which is that we didn't really talk that much about his racist past and all that type of shit. We didn't really get into all that too much because he kind of made it pretty clear right away that he regretted
with that shit.
But I probably should have like drilled into it more and like really pushed that type of shit, because then it would be a lot harder for people to criticize the fact that we even had him on the podcast in the first place. But it's not like it was a mystery to me that it was going to be a controversial piece of content.
Did he say on the podcast that he regretted his past?
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, man, some people just overdo shit. Like if it's somebody who's reformed, like everybody's you're calling for change. You're marching, you're rioting. You doing all type of shit for change.
But then somebody changes.
Then somebody changes and it's like, fuck him, he can't be here. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, and I'm not just trying to side with you. I'm just being straight to the point. This is what we all want. We want the people that didn't like black people and been treating us fucked up for years and years. We want them to jump on the bandwagon that we humans too. We're not a different being. We're humans. We're not aliens. You get what I'm saying? So treat us as if.
But people were trying, like, I already knew that T-Rell said that because he told me, he hit me up before the article came out telling me that he talked to the dude, right? And he said, and I don't mean to like leak T-Rell's DMs by quoting him or whatever, but I appreciated that he said this. He said, "You're lucky that I love you, because otherwise I would have talked shit to the reporter or whatever." But then when that article actually came out, the only negative thing or the only thing that they printed T-Rell saying was just some people were uncomfortable with the Richard Spencer guy coming in or whatever, which I knew that. That's fine. Like if he wanted to say that to the reporter, I don't give a fuck because that's nothing. But then I kind of felt bad for him. Like he was kind of naive because I realized from watching him talk about it on his stream that he thought when Rolling Stone hit him up, he thought that he was going to get to promote back on Fig in the Rolling Stone article.
Yeah.
Let me put it in perspective for you. If anybody ever hits you up from the mainstream media and they want to talk about one of your homies, there's a 99% chance that they're trying to shit on him. I remember one time, the same dude who wrote this Rolling Stone article, he wrote multiple articles about academics, right? And at one point, he emailed me saying, oh, I want to, will you do an interview talking about academics? Me and Ak are real cool right now. We've been talking a bunch and shit. But this was at a time where my level of appreciation for Ak was probably pretty low. You know, anybody who watches this channel knows that we've had our little ups and downs or whatever. So I was not happy with him at this point. But they hit me up and said, will you do this interview talking about academics? I think I didn't respond, or I responded and said no thanks.
Yeah.
Because, bro, that shit, unless somebody is your fucking enemy, don't talk to the news about them.
Yeah.
You know? Like, unless you can tell that they're trying to write, like, a flattering piece about them.
Yeah.
It's not a good idea because they're just, you know that this is what they do, especially Rolling Stone. Like, Rolling Stone is such a big publication, such a famous brand name. But the reality is that when you actually look at the journalism they do these days, they basically take new podcasters, content creators, YouTubers, and then they just find things to pick on them for, and then they write these, like, hate pieces about them.
Oh, because you guys basically took their platform.
Mm-hmm.
That shit's
because
not
nobody thinks about Rolling Stone when it comes to like what new music is popping.
Yeah.
But then they will listen to me and they will listen to Ak or they will listen to whoever.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, so that's just like their thing. I kind of felt bad
get back
for
into the music too.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
But what's this guy's beef with the media? Like, why was he writing about Ak and writing about you?
Because he gets paid to do so.
Well, that's enough.
And I guess he don't like us or whatever. You know, like when I'm looking at his shit, it's like, oh, you want to. It's like some guy with like 2,000 followers who's just salty as fuck sitting around writing articles about people that are doing better than him in life and trying to get some kind of traction off it, which I can't even hate on it because that's what everybody in the YouTube game is doing too.
That's what I'm like. But he has a big platform to like a 50-year-old like white lady. Like,
he only has a platform because of the fact that Rolling Stone will pay him to write articles.
Reading the Rolling Stone?
Nobody reads.
I don't
magazines.
think the people
if
that
they talk shit about
Jumper,
somebody famous and the shit can go viral on Twitter, then briefly they will have a moment with some fucking attention put on them, you know?
But nobody's clicking Rolling Stone every day, right?
And they know that. They know that shit disappeared.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
They reading the tweets.
I mean, yeah, of course you see Rolling Stone come across your timeline, you'll read the tweet, like for sure. But it's just like when we going for hip hop or controversial shit, are we going like, what did Rolling Stone have to say about this?
No. And they can't afford to even hire like people who have relevant voices in the culture. Like they can never have enough money to hire somebody like me or Ak or whoever. So instead they'll write an article about Ak streaming on Rumble and say, oh, academics is alt-right adjacent. So they'll even try to call a black guy racist. They even try to put a black guy in the racist bucket. That's how not convincing that shit is to people. Like when I even like, I was talking to Ak about the fact that article was about to come out and he's just like, bro, don't worry about it. He's like, that shit ain't going to do nothing. And then it came out and honestly, it felt like it did less than nothing because everybody in like 100% of the narrative in the Reddit when I was checking that shit was just laughing at Lush for fucking needing a shoulder to cry on from Rolling Stone and just complaining to them and shit.